and fears of all the years are met in thee tonight. Bethlehem, little town, and 2,000 years ago, a young Jewish man named Yosef and a young Jewish woman named Miriam are there out in the elements of the night, no place to stay, no shelter, but there outside, the young woman gives birth to a baby. Nobody's there except some Jewish shepherds who will come. And it all happens in the quiet, in the stillness, in obscurity, while the world has no idea it's happening. In the backwater hills of a backwater land in a province of the Roman Empire. And yet what happened in those hills, in the obscurity of Bethlehem, was the extraterrestrial visitation of Earth. It's the landing. It's the visitation beginning there, Bethlehem. There's no scorch marks and there's no broken branches or trees. It happens in gentleness. Yet God, who made the heavens and the earth, God, the Melech HaOlam, the King of the universe, chooses this place, this one galaxy, this one part of the galaxy, this little solar system, this one little planet, not even Jupiter or the ring planet or the red planet, but this little blue planet, third planet from a star, a medium average star, to a little land, Judea, Israel, to a little town, the smallest, the Bible said in the prophecy, it's the smallest of the thousands of towns of Judah. Bethlehem, to a little, not even in the town, not even in where things are happening outside everything else, to a little feeding station for animals, God comes into the world. What an awesome thing. What an incredible thing. And yet this is the humility of God, becoming little. This is the visitation. God came down to this planet. Not what we would expect if God came down to this planet. What would we expect to happen? Let's open up the ramifications. What would we expect that life of God on this planet to be? At one point in John 8, the Messiah asks, which one of you convicts me of sin? And there's no answer. Now, ever try that? You want to do an experiment? Go to somebody who really knows you and say, name one of my sins. How much silence will you get? If God were to come to earth, we would expect it would be a life that would have to be without sin. Yet how can somebody ask such a question and get no answer? He asked and nobody answered. Only God can do that. It wasn't like people just heard about him. He was there. He had apostles around him. He had disciples around him all the time. I mean, when he went to bed, when he woke up, everything, Monday morning, everything. And not one of them said that he ever sinned. They never saw. Everybody in the Bible who give them enough time, if there's enough coverage in the Bible, you'll find their sin. Abraham lied, slept with his handmaid. Moses killed. David committed adultery and murder. Elijah would be arrogant, despairing at one point. Peter would be unstable. Yet you find there's only one where there's any significant coverage who never sinned. When you're first in love with somebody, you think the other person's perfect. But soon after the honeymoon, you realize more and more the Lord is the only one who's perfect. And this is written, the Gospels are written by the people who are with him every day, day in, day out. With him. If there was one fault, they could have put it down. One thing it would have shown. But they write, this was God, they write. We touched him. This was God, John writes. We are saved by the precious blood of a spotless lamb. If there was one sin, you couldn't say that. And of all cultures, it's the Jewish culture, which is the most sin-conscious culture in the world. As soon as you're born, your first memory is hearing your mother say, you know what you put me through? 9 months of this. Is that any way to treat your mother? The most guilt-conscious people on earth, sin-conscious, and yet there's not one trace. These are the apostles, and they say this one had no sin at all. If God were to become a man, we would expect The life would be a sinless life, and that's exactly what you have. There's only one, and that is God. That is Messiah. Now, if God were to become a man to visit this planet, we'd expect that his life would become more than any other life, would address the central issues of life. See, God's the center of everything. His nature is to be in the center. I mean, that's what he is, the center. So would it mean that this life, this one, when he comes to this world, would touch the center, would touch the hearts of people as no other life ever could? And that's the thing, the words of Yeshua, Jesus, are unlike that of any leader, philosopher, founder of religion, Mohammed, Buddha, anyone. His words are words of life. They touch your heart. Here it is 2,000 years later, and you're reading this, and this book is touching your life. Now, can you read anything else from 2,000 years ago that's going to touch your life today? I mean, anything. How about 1,000 years ago, Middle Ages? You read a Middle Age manuscript. Is it going to touch your life? No, unless it's about this. No. Even hundreds of years ago, I mean, it's another world. But here it is 2,000 years ago, and it touches you for today. He doesn't ramble on. He doesn't get into tangents. He doesn't get into vain discussions. He is unlike the Quran, unlike the Talmud, unlike the Book of Mormon, unlike the text of Eastern religions. It doesn't ramble all over the place. It gets right to the heart. Let him who is without sin cast the first stone. That's it. That's over. You know, what should we do? Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's. Render to God the things which are God's. If God that's what you would expect, that he would speak to the center of everything. And when he speaks, the words could actually change people's lives. There is no one in the history of this planet who has ever changed the lives of man as Messiah, Jesus, Yeshua. Nobody. If God became